is going really quick, and we're only a couple of days in to not having any games the next couple of weeks. So look, today's show, look, the United snub chaos is all going off today as we expect. The Tonali blow, Carrick obviously being picked, and look, we're going to get into all of this stuff. Bruno G. Snub potentially, and Fernandez, and all the stuff going on about that. So we're going to get in through. We're going to cut through the rubbish today, because as we always do on this channel, we are very pragmatic, and the things that we say always tend to come true. So look, guys, get into this amazing community, get into this chat. You guys are a fantastic community. This is the best community on this platform, hands down. And be respectful. That's what we always ask. We're all going to have our views and opinions, and I've had mine. And look, we will get on fine. Otherwise, the ban hammer comes out. Second of all, I'm not a dictator of this chat. I really do read out your views and opinions. So look, get in your views and opinions. We don't mind banter. I don't mind the back and forth. But the only thing that I do ask is always respect at the heart. So look, the last couple of days, I can tell you exactly what happens. We have predicted it on this channel. I can predict it exactly what will happen. This is something that we don't do on here. We will not do it every single day. Tonali is in, Tonali is out, Tonali is shaking it all about. Anderson, I'm gonna go through that again for the last time, and I'm probably not gonna say it again because I think I know what's going to happen there. I've been saying it as well. Look, Tonali. There's this thing, so look, we can bounce straight into the Tonali thing. Look, Tonali apparently is slipping away. Look, we're not in for Tonali. Look, are we in terms of should we be in for this player? The answer is yes. Do we tend to go and get those types of players? My ultimate question is, are we finished at the top level? Keep up the great work. Thank you. Is that Sky? I think that's Sky. Thank you, because all of the names have changed. So look, thank you. I've done it. But thank you so much. Yes, Sky, bloody name. But thank you. But look, I also wanted to talk about, are we finished as a club? Look, this window is gonna really tell you about where we are as a club. There are some elite midfield players available, and Tonali is one of those players. Look, Tonali, whether Newcastle fans like this, and look, I respect them. I think there are, historically, they're a club that should be doing bigger things. So they've got my complete respect. And this is not about me saying, we should be getting these players. Look, they had a better season than us, and I would argue that they've got a better squad than us. But whether they like it or not, they are not doing particularly well this season. And I don't know what's going on with Eddie Howe. This isn't great. Logan says we won something. City says Logan, mate. Yeah, I watched the game, and City deserved to win that game. So well done to City. Congratulations. Now, look, we are talking about Tonali. We're talking about a proper midfielder. We're talking about a midfielder that I think would be transformative. Sky says, I'm happy City won. I bet on them to win. I don't want Arsenal to win. Look, we are talking about a proper midfielder here. Those people, and again, I'm not going to go too much into this. Those people who want a Bruno Fernandes to stay, those people who want Bruno Fernandes to play in that role as a 10, these are the players you need to support Bruno Fernandes. These are the players that you need to pick up the slack that Bruno Fernandes doesn't do, because apparently Bruno Fernandes isn't that player. But fine. But Tonali will give you that. Tonali is that elite player. Look, he's 26 years old. If you're going to invest that money in him, then you're investing the money, and you're saying, we are probably not going to end up recuperating any sort of cash. It is going to be an outlay of 80 million at least. Wages wise, he's going to probably want 200, possibly more. That's a massive cash injection for a player and an investment in, I think, an asset that we need. Now, look, we do have to think about this, is that how many midfielders, now when we are thinking about these sorts of players, Tonali, we ideally need an Anderson and a Tonali. So Logan says, the streets were loud when we was outside after the game. I saw some Arsenal fans on the train on Sunday after the game. What a delight to see, says Sky. So Tonali is one of those players. Look, I will give you my view and my opinion. The Tonali stuff is just spin. Look, we're never in for these sorts of players. These sorts of players, we are never in for this type of player. We are in for them in terms of what the club, the rhetoric and the spin of the club will tell you that we are in for. Tonali is like an Anderson again. Tonali is like a Haaland again. Tonali is like any other player that we are linked to. He is not like a Semenyo. This club are going to keep pushing this. And look, I hope that on this occasion I'm wrong. I don't have any information on this, but my guessing, knowing as I know this club and as we saw the last 13, 14 years, Tonali is not the midfielder. And look, the money isn't there, the cash isn't there. So what we've got to think about as well is what are we going to do? Rob says that maybe they're going to wait until after the World Cup to see what happens on the transfers. And look, Rob, I think that is I think that's a good point. Right, Rob? I can't disagree with that from a point of you don't know what's going to happen at a World Cup. But the problem, Rob, for me with that, and I do think you're right, a lot of deals are not going to get done until after the World Cup. But the problem for me is, how are we going to do deals after the World Cup, Rob? And again, this is not coming, this is just an opinion, is that we are very, very bad at signing players, right? So it took us to sign in Bumo 7 weeks. If we start to try to negotiate for people in the back end of August, back end of July, August, how are we going to get players done and signed in 3 weeks? And that's all I'm asking, Rob, is I don't disagree that we shouldn't rush into the major signings. I think a World Cup year, I think, is a different year. But we've got to get some signings done. Dino's in the house. Dino, we've got to get these signings done early-ish. Bruno Fernandes. I'm gonna bring this in only from a contract perspective. We can't let Bruno Fernandes go into the World Cup not understanding whether or not I want him, irrespective of whether we want him to stay or not. If the plan is to get him to stay, we've got to tie Bruno Fernandes. We need to tie Bruno Fernandes down. So if that is the case, we can't let him go to a World Cup and then at the back end of August go, well, actually he's going to leave, or United kick him out. We can't have that. So I think, Rob, the strategy for me with these sorts of plays has to be, we have to get their buy-in early. I don't mind the odd 2 players, but we have got to get this done early. We go through the chats. Remember when he did his foot, when that was... So, Rob, I remember Ruud van Nistelrooy did his cruciate. Or he either did his cruciate or we did something in his knee. He did a ligament in his knee, or I think he did his cruciate in his knee. And I remember that. I remember us going to sign him and being really, really excited. I think it was the summer of 2001. I think it was that summer, and we were going to sign him. I remember the video came out. He got a tackle. He went down on his knee, and I thought that was done. But Fergie promised that he would go back in the next season, and he did. And look, Ruud recovered fine. So, yep, City are coming for Arsenal. Rob says, who are they mainly need, a striker, midfielder, or defender? Rob, for me, it's a midfielder. In my humble view, I think we need to go for 2 midfielders at least. I'd even argue a third. We need a striker. We probably need a left back, a right back, a centre back. I don't see it. And I will tell you, I will give you towards the sort of end of the show my predictions. Ray says United won't go near Tonali because of the gambling, but yet there's been strong rumours of Greenwood coming back. Says Ray is in the house. Ray, I don't think the gambling thing, mate, is going to have an impact at all. I don't, mate. I don't. I don't think. Look, Ray, I think the club will use that. I think what we need to come to terms with as this club is that we will use any dark arts. Much as Arsenal will use the dark arts when they're trying to score a goal, this club will also use the dark arts in terms of trying not to sign players, to try and tell you that we're going to sign a player and then spin it around so we don't sign players. I don't think that that's going to come into it at all, but I may be wrong. Greenwood, Ray, I don't see how he comes back. I don't. I mean, look, you guys can tell me. You tell me in the chat. And I'm taking my personal opinion out of this one. I'm going to ask you guys, how does Greenwood come back? And look, the rumour mill is going to go rife. You are going to hear about all of this stuff. Greenwood, for me, I'd love to know how Greenwood comes back. I'm not going to tell you whether or not I want him to come back. Spoiler alert, I don't. But I would love to know your guys' opinions as to how you think Greenwood can come back. Any Spurs players you fancy? Bergvall, for me, Bergvall would probably be the one I think I would go for. I think he's young, and I think that would be a good option. Greenwood ain't coming back, says Spicy Chicken Wings. Danny is in the house, legend. Sam says might be an popular opinion, but I prefer Tonali over Bruno G. I don't think it is an unpopular. Sam, I would take Bruno. I would take Tonali as well. Bruno G, for me, there is a worry, and we will get onto that because there is more coming out of a snub apparently on that as well, but we will get into that when we talk about that. But I'm with you, Sam. I would much prefer to go with him. Spin, all aboard. Spinios, says Danny, exactly. Greenwood, that ship has sailed and we need to move on. Greenwood can come back after ACL sub in the 92nd minute. Pascal Mason Greenwood, he apparently is from the corner in Bradford about Rob James. Nice try. Hilarious. But look, one of the things again I wanted to sort of add into this as well. It's really easy to put you on that. Is this the thing that makes me laugh? And it just really makes me laugh how you've got the stories that have been out there recently about Tonali is going to sign. I've done shows on it and we've spoken about it, and I've told you for why. What are you moaning about today, says Grace? I'm just doing a broad moan. No, it's not a moan today, Grace. Well, let's see how we go. Exactly. We all know that this is spin, and the Tonali stuff is spin. I would love this to be true. I'd love us to be in. Look, I wouldn't mind if we actually went in for these players and we lost the battle. At least it means that we are in for these players and we're giving it a go. I don't mind losing a fight. you have to be in it to win it. But the cowardly aspect of this team is that we are not prepared, because it's all about keeping up with the Joneses. It's all about face, and we can't be seen to lose a battle. We've got to be in. How are these players supposed to know that we want these players unless you go in for these players? So look, I think the strategy this window has to be, this club have to be brave, but the money isn't there. So Rob says, I think Bowen from West Ham would perform in a world-class team or prop prem team. I don't look. I think Bowen is. I think Bowen is starting to go over a crest of a wave. I think that I think he's a good Premier League player. Rob, if you put anybody half decent into a world-class side, and they are gonna be good, right? Do I think if Bowen could hold his own in a world-class squad, I think he would be a decent squad player. I think the problem that he's got now is that he's actually 30. Grace says, when we have a good window, you're going to get it out. Yeah, I will get it all out. Gary says, who do you actually believe we will buy this window? So who do I think that we're going to buy this window? Sometimes I reckon if United make 4 or 5 good signings, they could definitely compete with City and Arsenal next season. And Sam, look, I'll come on to that, Sam. I think that's an interesting point that you raised. Who do I think that will actually buy this summer? I think we'll go one big signing, and then I think we'll go smaller signings. Or we'll either go 2. I think we'll either go 2 big midfield signings, and I think that we'll either do 2 big ones or 1 big one and 2 sort of small signings. And who do I think that we're going to sign? I think we'll go Baleba. I think we'll go, if Bruno G is the right price, but I don't think he is. Because there are rumblings that he's not available. I think we go Baleba. I think that we go, I can't remember his name now, my old man brain. The winger from RB Leipzig. I think that we go for him as well. And I think we'll go, I think the maximum we'll go 3 or 4. We need, yeah. That's it, Grace. The Diamonde. I think we'll go for him. I do. I think we'll go for Diamonde. I think we'll go Baleba. Gomez potentially. But look, I think that's how we go unless I think we sell to buy. But again, we have to be very cautious when it comes to sell to buy, because it's all about the amortization. But again, I'm not going to go into that on this show, but we've got to think about that as well. Luke Shaw at left back again says, Grace. Yes, Grace, I do agree with you. Sam says, I reckon if we make 4 or 5 good signings, we could definitely compete with City and Arsenal. Sam, if we make 4 or 5 really good signings, do I think that we can be competitive? Yes, I do. But also, we got to get City are going to strengthen as well. Arsenal are going to go again. But Sam, we've got to get at least 5 players. Because think about it in terms of this, like Casemiro is off. I still think Casemiro could stay. Casemiro, Ugarte has to go. Malacia, Jadon Sancho, Rashford. There are a plethora of players that are going to go on free, and there are some that are going to go. We've got to get players to replace those players, and we've got to go and get some new players. If you think about it, Casemiro, Casemiro, is he world-class Casemiro? No, but he's still a big impact in this team. We've got to replace him. And then we've got to then get another one, because If not, all we're going to have is Kobe Mainoo. And again, people are going to have their opinions on Kobe Mainoo. We'd have Kobe Mainoo, new signing, Ugarte. Look, you're going to need at least two. At least two. If Mainoo stays, new player, and Ugarte, you're going to need at least another one in there as well. So I think we probably are going to need, I think, to be competitive, bearing in mind this season, in my view, is not great. I think we're going to need at least, I think we're going to need at least 6 or 7 players. When we're on the left back, United are doing something that was from. Thank you, mate, for answering my question. No problem at all, buddy. And world-class Bruno Fernandes in 10. And look, if we're going to keep Bruno and we're going to keep Bruno Fernandes in a 10, if you get Bruno Fernandes, Tonali, and you get an Anderson, Tonali, Baleba, just 2. Bruno Fernandes can just play in that 10, and those 2 can pick it. It can basically pick up his workload. So Harvey says all leads, aren't we? Why don't we buy an attacking right back and put Managerial into the midfield as a third midfielder? Look, Grace, I don't. Look, again, Grace, if that's an option, yes, but. Again, Grace, are we not just sticking plasters on wounds? Like, are we not, instead of just going to buy a centre midfielder, I'm going to get a proper right back, we're going to be using a right back as a makeshift centre midfielder. Look, if we don't get another midfielder, I'm open to that. But that, for me, signifies, I think, what a poor club we are. But look, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just think that action would just demonstrate to me what a poor club we are. Archie says, yeah, thanks, Archie. We better keep Bruno says spicy wings. Look, if we keep him, we keep him. But I will go into that as well, and we can talk about it because there's Bruno Fernandes stuff happening. So look, Anderson next on the list. Look, Elliot fucking Anderson. I mean, come on now. Look, the fact that we are still talking about this player who is very clearly going to Manchester City. I am not going to spend any great length of time talking about an Anderson because there is no point. This is probably going to be one of the last times I talk about this player because I'm not going to buy into you're going to get the United stand, you're going to get Football Terrace, you're going to get Fabrizio Romano, you're going to get David Ornstein, you're going to get all these people again talking about Anderson. They're going to be, saying he should come. I'm literally not going to talk about him again. Look. He is the sort of player that you go and get when you want to complete a side. If we gone and got him and that's all we got, or that's all we get, it doesn't matter. If all we do this summer is go and get a Bruno G or a Tonali, that's not going to be enough, right? Elliot Anderson is not coming to this club. And look, I understand why people do it. I'm not calling people out. People have to feed their families. Right? That's a fact. People have to feed their families. It's good for clicks, it's good for views. Everybody knows, I think it's pretty much industry-wide, that Anderson is not going to come to this club. If it does, I will be absolutely blown away. I would stand up and I would applaud Ineos because this is a deal that Ineos are incapable of doing. You've got one of the league's best young players. I think a very young, all-round, assured, complete England centre midfielder, who I think, as he is as good as Tonali, younger. I think his ceiling is probably higher. And he would be, if you got him, you could then maybe get a slightly lesser midfielder. He would be one of those signings that if you made him in the same window as a decent striker, a winger, maybe a centre back, you could do something. But we're not going to do it. So as much as I'd love to give you stats, and we have been through the stats, and then Anderson is not coming. He is the pipe dream, I think, for me. And look, I know people are not necessarily convinced, and everybody has to have their view. Wharton, for me, I do like Wharton. Billy says, the man himself, glad you're back on. Thank you, Billy. Hope you're doing extremely well. So look, Anderson, I'm not going to mention him on this channel again. You may see the odd short out there of me talking about him, but I'm not going to promote this player. He is not going to come to this club. He's just not going to. So I am not going to waste any more time on that. So look, I wish him well. My prediction for him is going to be this. I think he'll go to City for somewhere between 70 and 80 million. I think Newcastle will pay him 300k a week, 250 to 300k a week, and he will be happy and he'll win things. And you know that is what I think will happen there. Jason Wilcox. Nick Arutsu is in the house, the man, the myth, the legend. Hope you're doing extremely well, my friend. So look, Jason Wilcox. I'm not denying what you're saying, but why are you so sure on Elliot? Look, I'll doing brew. Cheers, mate. Hope you're good. Thank you. Look, if I say it, I say things on this channel, and I've been right a couple of times. Right. I get fed stuff. Right. I get fed stuff. And when I do, I tell you guys stuff. The problem with that is, even if you are a tiny little bit wrong and you are not 100% right, you get killed. Right. Again, I'll give you some examples. I got told in October that this club wasn't going to make any signings at all, and if we did, it would be very, very cheap, or it would be a loan signing. But just don't expect any signings. That happened the day before, after the presser when Amorim got sacked. I literally told this channel pretty much before anybody else. Watch for the next day. Amorim is going to be sacked. I said he was going to be in charge. The latest one is Casemiro. I've been saying, watch Casemiro. Casemiro, look, is going to go, but watch Casemiro, because this club have asked him to hold fire on picking a club just in case they can't get the players. And I will give you an update on that as well. So they've just asked him to hold fire just in case they need him for another year. I've also been had conversations that United, I've given up on him. It is industry known that Anderson is going to go to City. Nobody is ever 100% right. Let's just be clear here. Things and facts can change until that contract is signed. Nothing is concrete. But Anderson is off to City, and that's something that I've had conversations about. And look, people can choose to believe that or not, but Anderson, I'm confident on it because I trust the person that I've had a conversation with, and they've been very, 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 very good so far. What's up, JB? I'm very well. Thank you, XD, and hope you are as well. When Sir Alex Ferguson retired, did you think that United would become so bad? I think that United is at least 8 seasons away from winning the Champions League and 5 from winning the league. Did I think that we would struggle? Yes, I did. I think the difference is this. Look, when Fergie retired, I was a bit older. When Fergie retired, I would have been 30. So I was 30 years old. So it wasn't like I'd seen the glory days. I'd also sort of seen when Chelsea came in, when City started to win things. You could already see it. I was 30 years old, right? So you could see it. So I'd already saw the Glazers, what the Glazers did, what the Glazers were doing to the club. I also saw what was happening to the club, the fact that we weren't replacing players. I was there. I was there at the beginning, and when he left, I was at a good age because I understood business. I understand business. I fully understand football. Sadly, I saw it. Did I think that it would get this bad? My answer would probably be no. And if I'm being fair, would I have predicted that the Glazers would have gone on to do this? Even by that time, I knew the Glazers were bad, but the Glazers were spending money. They weren't spending their money, but they were spending cash. I think for me, the question is, did I think that the club would be mismanaged to this point? And I think that's probably my answer to that question is yes, I saw it. I thought it was going to be bad. I didn't think the club would be mismanaged as bad as it is. And being very, very naive, I guess, in some ways, is that I always believed that financially that would be okay. But we wasted billions and billions of pounds. So, yeah. I was 14, says Gone. How old are you, JB? Thought you were 30 now. Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind. I'm 42, nearly 43. As Gary says, did you not think Bruno Guimarães is too old? That was one of my points. I think that he is too old. Do I think that he's too old? Look, best players are the best players. My worry is Bruno G is going to be 29 years old. Would I rather go and spend? And again, maybe this is going to be a very unpopular opinion, but this is my opinion on it. I would rather spend on Baleba. I'd rather spend 60 million on him at 22 years old and give him 120k a week rather than pay the Geordies 75 million and give him 250k on a 5-year deal. I would. Look, that's just me. I've learnt from the past, but my opinion might be, I know it's not always the best, but I think I would rather give Baleba a 5-year deal at 22 and 120k a week rather than give Bruno G 250k a week and a 5-year deal at 29 years old. So Gabriel will be on pre-season. Yes, XD, I did see that. I mean, what a fantastic talent. Hopefully he does. I mean, he seems like the next big thing. So hopefully we can embed him into the team. XD says, honestly, I like Bruno Guimarães. He's prem proven, and we can get a solid 3 to 4 years out of him. But his age is definitely a big thing. Look, I'm not against the transfer. I'm not against it my only comment from the offset would be this: if we go and get him and we spend this sort of money on him, I think there needs to be a conversation prior to it to say, my worry and my concern is at 29 years old, 28, 29 years old, we are basically taking a chunk of cash. Are we comfortable as a club and confident that we're going to get at least 4 years out of this player? That is my only comment on it. Come on, JB. Baleba is not worth 60 based on the season so far. Look, if you outreach, I have done a video on it. His stats this season, his defensive stats this season are elite. There is a rhetoric, there is a story driven by certain outlets on YouTube and elsewhere that Baleba's not been great this season, that he's crap, right? Because these outlets and these people don't want to sign him for 100 million. I agree. I don't want to sign him for that price, but he has been. He has his stats, his defensive stats are absolutely elite. However, where I do agree with, if we're spending 60, 70 million, I think we need more of a complete midfielder. His stats are absolutely elite, but where he falls down is that ball progression. Where he falls down is that attacking phase of play. Defensively, he is fantastic, but are we going to make that mistake as well? So look, I still think there is a player there. I agree about Baleba. He will do well in that team. I would take Bruno Guimarães for 25 mil. Anything more than I'd pass. The money we might have spent on Guimarães, we can spend on Stila and Baleba and a Gomez and a Garner. Yeah, look, I would rather. I'm with XD. I think we need to be creative. I would rather a Walton. I don't know how much he's going to be, but I'd rather I would much prefer two decent midfielders rather than one 29-year-old, how we don't know he's going to be. So look, I'm with you guys. I would much rather spend that money on two good, solid, one Prem proven player, because we need to make the whole squad stronger and not just one position. Renoff says, hello, I'm extremely well, my friend. So look, Jason Wilcox, let's talk about the manager situation. If you don't know, I have done a video on that as well, just talking about Carrick compared to Emery, De Zerbi, Galajna, Enrique as well. And look, I'm not saying here and now Michael Carrick shouldn't be looked at. I'm not saying that Michael Carrick shouldn't plus his Champions League too, exactly. I'm not saying here and now that Michael Carrick shouldn't be the coach. But this for me is beyond that, right? This club is in no rush. This club, off topic, but I can't take Goldbridge anymore. He's taken look, and look, look, I don't know if you've seen it. Hence, look, I made a comment. I did do a short on it. I'm not going to lie. Look, I am not the biggest fan. I am not the biggest fan of calling people out, right? Because if you do it, particularly somebody like me with this smaller channel, you always look a bit like you're trying to do it for clicks, right? I'm fucking tired of it. I'm tired of it. Look, this channel, I think United fans deserve better. I think United fans deserve more. I know exactly why Goldbridge does what he does on his channel. I know exactly why. It's because it's all about clicks. It's all about the algorithm. It's all about the clicks. That channel doesn't care about what it puts on the thumbnails because it wants you to click on it. As I said, I get sent things all of the time. I get sent clips because people get pissed off and people ask me to call it out. Right? People email me stuff and say, look, I've seen this. Can you talk about it? Which I'm, fine to do. I watched it. I watched the first 5 minutes, and I just think it's just. I get it. I get why people do it, and if people want that sort of content in their lives, then that's fine. They've got a job to do. A man's got to eat food. A man's got to make money. But the Cole Palmer stuff, it is fantasy. Cole Palmer is fantasy. And again, this is why I am not going to do a story on that at all. I'm not even going to mention any topic on that until it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Because it's nonsense, XD. It's nonsense. It is utter nonsense. And Herbie's right. Either way this club gets spun, these bigger channels, they protest to be the voice of the fan. But yet they do Ineos's job for them. They are spinning it up, right? How is Cole Palmer? Somebody can answer me this question, and I'm going to ask you guys the question. I am determined to do a transfer show, and it's going to be a transfer show whereby I'm going to show you what we can and can't afford. How are we going to afford Cole Palmer? When anyone talks about a transfer, how are we going to sign this player? 130 million pounds. That's what it's probably going to cost. He's on 300. He's going to be on 350k a week. I think he's becoming a little bit more injury prone as well. How does that work? As an outlay, that is ridiculous. And Chelsea would have us over. Chelsea would be bending us over the table. Like, they would be demanding all sorts of stuff. It's a deal we can't do. Literally, unless Cole Palmer goes on a strike, and I mean he goes on a proper strike, chucks his toys out of the pram, and I'm asking, would you guys want that sort of player? Because I wouldn't. Unless Cole Palmer does something very, very, very silly that's going to harm his career, how are we going to sign this player? Whether or not we should go and get him, we're not that club. Like, why do fan channels think that we can just go and cherry pick these players? We don't have that power. So look, the whole Cole Palmer thing is just ridiculous. Michael says, where is Palmer? And look, Michael makes a good point as well. Michael makes a good point as well. For Palmer to come into the squad, people's hero, Bruno Fernandes, has to leave. He's got to leave. So I don't know if there's anybody that loves Bruno Fernandes and wants Cole Palmer. You can't have both. You can't have both. But look, no, I do agree with you. Look, that whole Cole Palmer stuff is just a load of nonsense. Herbie's in the house. Hey JB, Carrick with this team, no new players and more games per week. Potential disaster. New coach will be able to say bad results are due to more games per week if no investment is made. Exactly. Very correct on buying two players. Young, proven EPL, i.e. Belabor. I have to ask, would anyone take Garnacho back? No. I want Somerville and Giuffre West Ham. interesting. Didn't Palmer just sign a 10-year deal? So it's almost impossible to get him in the club. That was a stupid story to begin with. Palmer, no, I'd rather Cunha in a Bruno's position. Guys, look, all I'm going to say this is I think you guys have summed it up spot on. I think you guys, this is why I love to do this, is for all the shite that is out there. I've got this community who are intelligent, and thank God for that. So Wilcox, let's get on to the Carrick stuff. Wilcox, look, Jason Wilcox is pushing a Carrick. I'm not saying that Carrick isn't the guy. I'm not saying that. But I don't trust Wilcox to make the decision. Look, what is he basing it on? Right? This is my first thing. So there are two main things here, right? Is number one, we seem to be in no rush to get a manager, which is absolutely scares me to death. Because why isn't this club, one of the biggest clubs in the world, rushing to get a coach? We might be, but we're allowing stories to come out that we're chilled. We are allowing stories to come out that we are relaxed about the manager stuff. I'm sorry, that is ridiculous. That is one of the most ridiculous things I've heard. We shouldn't be putting any stories out there. Jason Wilcox, I wouldn't trust this guy to cross a road. I wouldn't trust him to turn on a fucking light switch. I do not trust this guy. And we are letting him decide, or letting him push his opinion. And it seems to be that his opinion seems to matter more than anybody else's. He seems to be the one pushing the Carrick deal. Now, XD says, I'm sorry, but I can't give Carrick the job, because it's either they get him and don't back him in the window, or they get him and it's another. And XD, I couldn't sum it up better myself. The worry for me here is this. If we get Carrick, we're not going to do what I think we should do. If we get Carrick in charge, the reason why Carrick will be in charge is because he's a company man. Is because he will work with this team. Scott is in the house. He will work with Ineos. And if people are comfortable with that, then that's fine. I want the best of the best. I don't think we're going to get it. So there are two main scenarios for me. Number one, we basically get 2 or 3 players, and we expect Carrick and this club expect him to do the job, which he will. Or we go and get Enrique, and we go and buy players. I think Neil's right. I think we've decided to give the job to him already. There could be a sway here, but Blue, I disagree, Blue. I'm not disagreeing with your opinion. I think your opinion is a valid opinion. The only part of it, in my view, that I don't agree with is nobody should be given a chance. Like, what are we? Are we Burnley? And this is no disrespect to a Burnley. Are we a Burnley? Are we Leeds United? Are we Swansea City? Right? And the reason why I mention that is we shouldn't be giving a manager a chance. We should be going to get the best manager. The manager should have already taken his chance elsewhere, and we should be going to get the manager because he's proven himself. We shouldn't be giving a manager a job because it's a chance. We shouldn't be taking chances. And again, look, this is not a pop at you. This is just my opinion on it. we are United. We are one of the biggest. We're one of the biggest clubs in the world. Why are we giving a chance to Carrick? Like, I'm not saying Carrick is not something that he can earn, that he can't earn it. But statements like he has to be given a chance. Guys, look, we are United. We haven't won a title in 13 years. Why are we giving coaches and a manager a chance? Like, when did we become this set of fans who are willing to accept second best? We've now got the search for a manager now has to include a manager that we give a chance to. We shouldn't be given a chance. Carrick should either be right for the job or he's not. The club need to be confident. The club need to come out, be confident, and back him and go, he's our guy. The reason why he's our guy is X, Y, and Z. But the problem for me is here. Again, I've done a video on it explaining the differences. Do you want a manager next season, and do you trust the director of football at this club? Michael Carrick has had 130 games. Do you trust him? And I know people turn up their nose at an Unai Emery. Unai Emery has managed over 1,000 games in Europe, and I know it's the Europa League. He's one of the most successful coaches ever. He's managed to do what he's done at Aston Villa. And people would rather take Michael Carrick, who's got no managerial European pedigree at all. He's managed 140 games versus a coach who's got over 1,000. How can we be taking a chance? Like, how can we be taking a chance? But look, I'm not bringing the opinions down on this. People have their view and view football in a completely different way to me. But I'm not comfortable with giving a manager a chance. Like, we're not Wycombe Wanderers. Like, we're not, we're supposed to be going out there to go and get the best of the best of the best. And is Carrick that? I don't know. How many top coaches have come in and failed? A few now. We want a manager who can get the best out. These players, if Carrick is doing that, then let him continue. And again, look, I'm not calling that opinion out here. Look, that's your view. But again, you sound like Ineos. You sound like the Glazers. You sound like Rio Ferdinand, right? I don't want the manager to get the best out of these players because these players are shit. I don't want a manager who's going to come in and get the best out of this set of players. We need new players. It's a bit like when you have a car that only you can drive because the wheel sticks, the steering's awful, the engine isn't great. Only you know how to drive the car. Go and get yourself a new car. I don't want a manager one of the goals of the manager shouldn't be this. It shouldn't be, I need a manager to come in and work with these sets of players. These sets of players are not good enough. They are not good enough to progress next season. Luke Shaw, Maguire, he's done okay this season, but he's 34 years old. There are so many players in this side, but yet one of our criteria for a manager is we need somebody to come and manage this set of players. I can't do it. I can't do it. Blue, I can't agree because we can get him, but we'll send him out the door in a couple of months. Exactly. United is the best, most successful teams. Barca took a chance on Pep, Madrid on Zidane, and Arsenal on Arteta. Valid points, but if you look at what the team Pep got, it would be different it would be different if Michael Carrick was taking over a team like Barcelona. It would be fine if Madrid, but again, Madrid, you're saying that they took a chance. That Barcelona team was already had a style of play and already had good players, right? Zidane is Zidane. Zidane took on a team of Gareth Bale, Cristiano. I'm sorry, but Zidane, you can't really say that's taking a chance. Zidane had to do his own thing, but you look at those teams. Arteta, he got the backing of the board. Arteta got rid of Ozil, Aubameyang. Like, Arteta was allowed to get rid of players. If you're telling me that Michael Carrick is going to be allowed to get rid of players and replace them, I would say fine. That would perk up my ears and say fine. If this club is going to really give Carrick a chance to clear out this team, the difference will be is that the Arsenal board backed Arteta, even when there were screams from the fan base to get him out. Might come back to that then. Why wasn't Amorim given a chance? Why wasn't Amorim given a chance? So we talk about taking a chance, right? Amorim wasn't perfect. The first season wasn't on him, by the way. It really wasn't. So why wasn't Amorim getting a chance? Why does Carrick deserve a chance? Why does Carrick deserve to have these players? Why didn't Amorim deserve more time to get players? They need to get a better coach. The only name of those available is interesting is Nagelsmann, and he struggled at Bayern. Look, but again, you know, if Michael Carrick is the only option, it's going to have to be. Would you take Simone Inzaghi? Look, I would rather, for example, if it was a toss up between Inzaghi, Glasner, De Zerbi, Michael Carrick, I would give it to Carrick. And the reason why I would give it to Carrick is because I know this club are not going to sign players. I'm not worried about Carrick. The only reason is he shouldn't get the job is because the board will decide to do some unspeakable things, and Carrick might be a pushover. Exactly. Unai Emery works for teams that are underdogs. He struggled at Arsenal and PSG. Why aren't the messages going through? I don't know, buddy. Who is this Aston Villa coach who was unable to manage Arsenal and PSG? Yeah, but there are reasons for that. If you look at an Arsenal, he wasn't given time to rebuild that squad, and the management changed. In terms of the PSG thing, if you look at where, so if you look at where they were, they had, was it Messi, Mbappe coming through. They were trying to win. They were trying to win a Champions League by basically trying to buy the best players and not bringing the team together. If you look at those two teams, right? And again, I'm gonna give you my view. If you look at where Arsenal were, and if you look at where PSG were at that time, very, very similar clubs in terms of very, very tumultuous times. Wasn't the best time to be at either of those clubs. But then he goes to an Aston Villa. He takes them from relegation into the Champions League. Look, managers struggle at teams. I would still take him. Carrick should hand over the club. If Carrick gets the job and the players throw their toys out the pram after 3 months, would be able to handle that. I don't think he can, says Ray. I think the players will throw him under the bus. The players will throw him under the bus. I know how this goes. I know how this goes. We've seen it before. The manager who will only have a small say in the new players. That's why we've got a look, mate. Look, Jason Wilcox is awful. If you're happy with that, if you're happy with somebody who was at Southampton for a year, if you think that he is good enough for this club, then that's your view, my friend. Let United go and bring Enrique and he'll fail. Arsenal's taking years. He has. So Dan doesn't want to spoil his CV at United. I can't disagree with you at all. Amorim is the worst coach United has ever had. Look, I'm gonna respectfully disagree on that. I'm gonna respectfully disagree on the fact that it is not as simple as that. Amorim was shocking, terrible football, square pegs in round holes, misused players. Went to 4 at the back, 1, and then went to a 3 at the back, and failed to win for 5 games. I want to do an Amorim show at some point. Amorim is a great coach, just he didn't have his 4 players. Amorim will go to a new club. And when he gets back, Amorim forgot he was a coach and not a manager. League One isn't EPL. Enrique came to EPL, he would be sacked. And they need to sign Pedri, Johanna, Igor. I wouldn't mind seeing Nagelsmann get the job. Let United carry the money to buy players. Wilcox is a rat, Florian. I agree with you. Wilcox is an absolute rat. One more sign like Cole Walker. Jesus Christ. So look, Wilcox, we will see. I'll give you an update. Try to reach out to Amorim and get mate. Amorim would. I can try. Look, Amorim should come on this show because we've supported him on this show from day one. I'm still banging on his drum now. I am an Amorim supporter. I have been. Let me see if I can, maybe he'll watch the videos and see that I've supported him. I'll give it a shout. Next thing, look. So Bruno G. Look. 29 years old. And look, again, there are reports today coming out that Bruno G apparently is going to be looking to snub us. There are stories coming out that he doesn't want to sign. He weren't going to sign. Board isn't ready to play. Pays 250, 350, 405k. They are buying average players. Bruno G. Look, Bruno G. My only comment on him really is this: do I think he's a fantastic player? Yes, I do. I think he's a great player. I'm with XD. I think Amorim should have been given the rest of the season. I do, but the only reason he wasn't given the reason he wasn't given the rest of the season XD is because he's got a pair of balls. Is because he's not a company man. The only reason he got sacked is because he doesn't toe the party line, and I ultimately respect that completely. So Bruno Guimarães, where are we on this player? I'm torn on this player. 28, 29 years old. There is no doubt he's an absolute fantastic player. Premier League proven, fantastic player, absolute quality player. My only comment is that you're going to be spending the best part of £75 million on a 29-year-old player who's going to cost you 250 to 300k a week. It's either going to work or it's either going to backfire. And I am not at the moment, if I'm going to hold my hands up in the air and say, look, I've got to be honest about this, it smells of Casemiro all over again. Now, people will say Casemiro was a success. People will talk all sorts of stuff. Look, if Bruno G, if he can, who's the player that you mentioned? Sorry, I'm late. Hi, JB. Hello. So Bruno G, from the Geordies. 29 years old. Look, Bruno Guimarães is look. He's a fantastic player. There is no doubt about it. But when are we going to do something different? And no makes a good point. You know, Casemiro's first season was amazing, spot on, absolutely spot on. And then he showed his age and has been good for this season. I can't do that again. I can't do it again. I can't do it again. I cannot do it again. I am not opposed to doing the deal, but it's not one that if we were to do this deal, I couldn't sit here, and if he then goes on to play 4 years, 5 years, and is one of our best players, I will support it. I'll say that I'll support it, but I wouldn't be able to sit here and be one of the people that says I backed it from the start. I don't fully back it. I don't. I think it could be one of those that's a disaster. I'd rather go and get Baleba at 22. So Gomez from Wolves, I'd rather go and get him. I'd rather go and do those sorts of deals. I think we need more than one. Bruno Guimarães, Tonali, and Anderson, they represent all of our money gone. So I want to move away from these players. You know, I would, if we were in a situation where we already had the centre midfielders, if we'd already had them in place and we went to go and get him, fine. I'd absolutely no issue at all. But we're not there yet. We're not there yet. SS Red, re-sign Garner and maybe look at Sander Berge. Now, look, again, I would take those two as backups. For me, I don't. They can't be our. I wouldn't mind those two and another elite, but it can't just be those two. We've got to get elite as well. I'm not opposed. I'm not opposed to signing those players. We need squad players. We need squad players, and I am with you there. I think we need squad players. So I'm not opposed to getting those players as squad players, but we need. I'm with Scott. I think Scott is spot on there. What are we already saying in here? Anderson from Forest should be the number one target. He should be, but sadly, he's not going to be. Again, I don't mind talking about it on this show. I don't mind talking about it on shows. I'm never going to do a show on it unless we pull off the impossible. I'll be given no. I will not be leading with anything on that. But look, I'm happy to talk about it. He's not coming. He's not coming. XT says Anderson is already on. He is. My issue with Anderson is one good season don't make 100 mil for me, but I believe his good. Won't disagree. I don't want Bruno from Newcastle too, if I'm honest with you, but trying to remain positive. Scott says that like we'll end up with Baleba and a Gomez. Yes. The United board doesn't listen. See Casado at Chelsea. Ollie asked him to sign. The board refused. Even Haaland. Shesko, Ollie told the board to sign him, but the board refused. I think Baleba. I know people. I just think he'll be such a good player for us. Look, I'd rather shoot and miss on a Baleba for 60 million at 22 years old rather than shoot and miss an 80 million pound, 250,000 a week deal for Bruno Guimarães. Bruno, if he was 50, 60, I'd go for him, but 80 is a big no from me. They are squad players, Baleba and Gomez. I do believe Ollie know how to to the tech players. Bring Ollie back to the tech players. See what players will perform. I'm just saying they are better value than the Giro, and yeah, I'm sure get the best. Yeah, and I do not disagree with you. I don't at all. If you want the best in class, then the players get Valverde and Vitinha. When Ollie has to force the board to sign Fernandez, look at him now. They can't find the best young players from under 23s. Flan says, I agree with the Baleba. The guy is a powerhouse, has a high ceiling. Low-key, I think he's done a sneaky deal to have a bad season at Brighton to lower his price. And do you know what? If that is the case, I'm not going to be a hypocrite on what I've said before. I'm not overly impressed by that tactic, but I think he's going to be the guy. I do. I mean, you think Anderson is ready for the pressure? Meant this has been an amazing season for him. I just don't want to spend 100 million on one player as we need depth. Look, I don't want to spend 100 million. I don't want to spend 100 million on a player. I don't think we can. We've got to be shrewd. If we're going to be in the Champions League, we need 7 players. And you're right, we can't spend. It does cost money. Might be dreaming too hard, but I can see Baleba being a talent. And I think he'll show the passion that we need and be a crucial player in this squad. And look, the reason why I'm mentioning him, because I guarantee you next season he'll sign, he'll be an amazing player, and you'll get all the other channels going, oh, we said he's going to be good, we said that. Yeah, whatever. Taking place at under 23, and if that doesn't perform and the team doesn't win, he'll be sacked. I refuse to be gaslit into the Bruno G is world-class signing. SS Red, I don't think he is. I don't think he is. And I agree with you. People gaslight people. Bruno Fernandes. People gaslight people. There are channels who are pushing. This is what people don't get, and this is what I'm about to learn as well. Is that people will gaslight you on their channels. They want you to be gaslit because it's all about the topic. It's all about the relevant player now. I guarantee you, most of these channels don't think that the players that they're pushing are the best players, because it's all about the algorithm. It's all about what players trend. If I was to start to talk about Anderson all of the time, my numbers would increase. I refuse to do it. So these channels gaslight you into having an opinion that either they don't share. That's not true. Valverde has finished. Madrid, we see a good player. Would have taken, yes, I do like him as well, but Verratti went to, didn't he go to Saudi? Valverde finished it sounds like I live in FIFA career mode. Glyn says, United need new players with energy in the midfield, box-to-box players. Ugarte, not good enough. Mount, if he's fit, will start. Arsenal start to crumble between now and the end of Sunday. United stand up pushing for Bruno. I don't see it, but opinions are just like it. I would take Tonali happily though, but I don't think he's world class like fucking Goldbridge thinks. Look, that channel is just going to push stuff, isn't it? So like they're like, who am I? I'm just humble, right? So look, guys, I'm going to go. Really good show. I will be back tonight. Look, there is some stuff I wanted to bring in to this show, but I'm not going to bring it in because I'm going to bring it in tonight. There is stuff. There has been talk about stadium builds this afternoon. I'll go away. I'll go and look at that, and I'll see what comes up. But I will be doing a show tonight as well. So I'll be doing my late show tonight. It is Tuesday, so I'll be doing some late shows on a Tuesday. But look, guys, afternoon show. Thank you so much. Absolute fantastic. Look, no worries, buddy. I will be back tonight. PC Plod, and he does talk a big bag of shit. Exactly, it's going to be 3 weeks of stuff, and let's get prepared for the clickbait stand. So look, guys, yes, I will be back this evening. I should be back around 9:30 tonight. So thank you for the support. As always, I love the fact that we don't always agree on stuff. And look, guys, just legends. So thank you for all the support. I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel, and I'll see you guys this evening. Take care.